Hey, what's up? Hello, guys. This is bethfaceplays, and today we are on part 3 of chapter 4. I thought there would only be 2 parts, and I really didn't want to do 3 parts, but I think this is one of the longer chapters. So at the end of the last episode, I got pulled into the chamber by Amy after watching Dennis get killed by the creatures because of my choice. So we're going to continue. We're in an isolation chamber in the hangar now, so. We are now inside a large reinforced chamber of sorts, almost like the inside of a submarine. Near us is the door, shut tight. Far away from us along the back wall are all sorts of controls and monitors. It seems clear that this metal door is impenetrable, at least to them. I'm fairly sure that they aren't getting in. Dennis, I say. I'm sorry, Amy says, and I'm sorry for pulling you back, but you were walking to your death out there. I know, I say, but that doesn't make it any easier. I couldn't quite see, but it looked like you may have had a shot. Why didn't you take it? Amy asked. He told me not to shoot, or I thought he would get away. Well, it's because he told me not to shoot. He said he had it. Roger, Amy says. My God, I'm sorry. He's dead, I say, hoping that speaking the words will help me to understand what just happened. I came through all of this to try to save him, and he's dead. How did this happen? Why did I listen to him? Out of nowhere, an image of Dennis pumping his fist after winning a game of pool pops into my head. I can't reconcile that happy image with what I just saw. I feel myself zoning out, wanting to just give up, but I'm stubborn, and the fact that Dennis is dead is a cruel motivator. I have to get out of here, I say. What I don't say is that I have to get out of here so all this trouble will have been worth something. We are interrupted by a man's voice booming behind us. Just what in the hell do you think you're doing? The man roars. He's an older man who seems to exude power and authority, but he also looks tired and scared. I assume this is Barksdale. He walks over to us from the back recess of the chamber. We didn't have a choice, Amy responds. We had to. Did you override the locks on the hangar doors? Barksdale demands. Yes, I did, but we had to. Do you have any idea what you could have done? Amy doesn't answer right away. She is furious, but she is also scared and visibly exhausted. I'm going to say, who is this? I address my question to Amy, preferring to get my info from her rather than whoever this is. The man doesn't break eye contact with Amy. Colonel Barksdale, he runs the place, she says, annoyed. Look, Barksdale, she says, you can berate me and lecture me all you want when this mess is over. But right now I have a wounded civilian here, and, as you can see, several entities trying to get into this room. So if you could actually do something instead of sitting on your throne and yelling at me, that would be great. I am impressed by her guts and wonder if there is some sort of beef between the two of them. Surely, working in a place like this could cause stress and tension between people. As we wait, I notice a small peephole in the door. I go to it and look out to the things. They're still looking for a way in, but finding no success. I wonder if they can sense or somehow see me through the door. I'm gonna flip him the bird. I can't help myself. I hold up my middle finger to one and smile defiantly. I get a blast of high-pitched sound in response. You'll be reprimanded for speaking to me in such a way, Barksdale says to Amy. Reprimand me all you want. I'd like to survive this first. Cover your ears, Barksdale shouts, walking away towards the far end of the room. Stay put until you hear back from me. Thank you, Amy says with fire in her voice. She then turns to me and says, better do what the man says. My instinct says to ask why, so I'm going to say it. My answer comes in the form of a deafening blast. For a moment, I dare to hope that Dennis has somehow survived and is opening fire on them. Is that why we need to cover our ears? More bursts of loud, explosive noise start ringing out. Looking through the peephole again, I see the core of one of the beasts explode. It vanishes in a puff of smoke and clear liquid. Looking to my left, I see Barksdale in a shooting stance at the far side of the room. He's firing through a small slit in the wall. He's using some high-powered weapon, the likes of which I've never seen. I see a slight movement as the gun kicks, accompanied by a flicker of white light. Immediately, another monster is downed, its tentacles flailing around aimlessly as most of its core is torn through. I instantly feel gratitude and an immense satisfaction in knowing that they are being picked off in such a way. I'm going to sit down and rest now. I slide down against the door and simply wait, listening to the occasional patter of what I assume is their blood on the wall. I don't know how much time passes, maybe 5 seconds, maybe 5 minutes, and I don't care. It feels nice to lay down. When the firing is over, I barely even notice it. Soon after, Barksdale walks back over to our side of the room. "They're all gone," Barksdale said, "and I have resealed the hangar doors." "How'd you kill them like that?" I ask. "Classified weapons that, quite frankly, you have no business being near." Amy gets to her feet and returns to the panel on the wall. "Thanks. How badly is the civilian hurt?" Barksdale asks Amy, as if I'm not good enough for him to speak to. "A nasty cut," Amy answers. "If he gets some quick attention, he'll be okay." "Okay, I'll have Strickland get a med kit." "Strickland survived?" Amy asks, sounding cheerful. "Yes, and until you and your friends showed up, I thought we were the only ones. Hang tight, she's on her way." With that said, he retreats away to the back of the room as if he can't stand to be around us. Amy approaches me and looks me over. "You're in good hands. Strickland will be able to fix you up." "Is she a doctor or something?" "Sort of. She's also a physicist, but oddly enough, she spent time as a trauma nurse in the army." "Is Strickland a friend of yours?" I ask. Amy chuckles. "Yeah, we've known each other for a while. The only women in a sea of overachieving men." Barksdale sounds like a prick, or you must be glad Strickland survived. I'm going to say the obvious. I am. We usually have lunch together, she says, and she's helped me out of a few tight spots in my career. Within a few seconds, the door behind us opens and a woman appears from back further in the chamber. She enters the room with what looks like a small suitcase. She is dressed in a very basic and drab military getup, complete with a holstered sidearm. "My name is Connie Strickland," she says, getting straight to the point. "I can patch you up pretty good, but it's going to hurt." I nod, honestly not caring how much it hurts. My God, I just want to get out of here, to get home. "Sit down and let's see if we can get your shirt off," Strickland says. I sit down and slowly and start unbuttoning my shirt. She has to help me slip it off my shoulders, but we manage. "How bad is it?" I ask. "Bad," she said. "It almost looks like a burn, but I've seen much worse." I might as well talk to Strickland, if only to distract from pain. "What's your story?" Or "You're a scientist too?" "You're a scientist too in this deep underground laboratory? There's a scientist here?" "No, what's your story?" Strickland rolls her eyes as she gathers up a needle and some thread. "I was always into fringe science. I started in labs where these eccentric Russian scientists were being funded by the U.S. to work on combining DNA types. I sort of became obsessed with perfecting human physiology while I was a trauma nurse in the army." "You were a mad scientist then," I say. "I get that a lot, but no, not compared to the stuff we do here." "What kind of stuff?" Hopefully someone will tell me. It's complicated. Komar masses, quantum gravity, crunching things down into their whatever that is, Schwarzschild radiuses. Fun stuff. Hang on. "Yeah, a mad scientist," I say, trying to keep myself calm with dry humor. "There are lots of small labs working on this same stuff," she argues. "They just don't have our funding. When you guys ran in here," she said, "I was horrified. Those barrels outside, I'm not sure if you guys saw them. Well, if you'd shot them, it could have been bad." "Why?" I ask. "The gray ones are filled with an experimental fuel that is highly flammable. The yellow ones contain liquid nitrogen." "What?" I ask. "Just laying around?" "Well, this area is the safest in the building, the most secure. Well, it used to be anyway. And take this," she says, handing me 4 pills, painkillers. "They won't work immediately, but they'll dull the worst of what you're feeling." "Are these the best idea?" I ask. "Won't they make me dizzy or out of sorts or something?" All I get in response is an annoyed and determined look. First of all, dear Bromico, please use proper grammar. Radius is... It's not a word. The plural of radius is radii. So, let's see. Now we need to either take the painkillers or not take the painkillers. Roger also needs to remember that this is a freaking scientific lab. They're going to have seemingly unsafe items in seemingly unsafe areas to you, but whatever. Sorry. I had to adjust. So, I'm supposed to either take the painkillers or don't take the painkillers. I think They won't work immediately, so... And they'll just dull what he's feeling. So I'm going to take the painkillers. Crap, this is an important decision. I dry swallow the pills as she starts working on me. She slathers the wound with some sort of liquid that stings like crazy, and I gasp. Ouch! Or grin and bear it. I'm a dude. I'm going to say ouch. Ready to stab me yet? Strickland asks. I'm fine, I hiss. I wince as she dabs at my eye, swollen from where Marcus kicked me. I grit my teeth in pain and try to catch my breath. The anticipation is the worst part. I'm relieved to find that it doesn't hurt as much as I feared. It's no picnic for sure, but compared to the fire-like pain in my wound, it's bearable. So, you and Barksdale are the only survivors? Amy asks. It seems that way. Those that didn't disappear into thin air were killed by those things, Strickland says, nodding it to the secured door. How many were killed, or no one else made it? Some of the questions, some of the choices they have to make are just stupid. All of them were killed, so yes, no one else made it. I'm guessing 30 or so. I'm not sure how many were scheduled to come in today. I'm glad to see you. Where were you when it happened? Amy asks. I was in the microlab on level 2. Strickland replies. Park and O'Brien were in there with me and they just disappeared, I guess. It looked like they were being stretched, distorted, and then there was a ball of white light and they were gone. The ball of light just annihilated everything it touched. Would it leave a perfectly round hole, I ask, a light bulb turning on in my head? We saw some of those up at the logging site. That was probably the same phenomenon, Strickland replies. Amy looks like a child afraid to ask an adult for something. Finally she asks, where did they go? We don't know, Strickland says. It could be an infinite number of different dimensions or even some dimensions that merge and mix together. It could also be a place that exists between dimensions. Barksdale calls it the void. So right before they said something about, right before Roger realized and asked the question about if it could create a perfectly round hole, I started getting a feeling that that was possibly what he was, that was what he was saying. And I've seen that, I kind of thought that in chapter 3, too, at one point. It's like, well, this is what's going on. Like, those were the balls of light he was saying, that Dennis saw, and I'm guessing the other people on the crew, were some that just disappeared. So, it could also be a place that exists between dimension. Barksdale calls it the void. And I have to be funny and say I'd call it dead. No, she says, we keep tabs on the heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing of all the rats and human test subjects. Wherever they go for that time, they are still very much alive. Well, I winced through the rest of Strickland's stitching, feeling the tug of my skin, but thankfully no more flowing blood. Finally, Strickland says, you're good to go. I slide my shirt back on, aware of the thick pad of gauze that Strickland applied to my shoulder. So have you and Barksdale been able to contain all those creatures? Amy asks. Strickland appears shocked, clearly not the reaction Amy was expecting. Contain? Are you nuts? Do you not know what's happening? Amy's eyes widen in fearful confusion. What do you mean what's happening, other than the initial experiment failure? The anomalies are becoming more numerous and further from the source, Strickland says. The casual humor in her voice is now gone. What anomalies, or further from the source? The anomalies? I feel like the anomalies are the creatures themselves. So, further from the source. From the location of the original experiment, she says. The experiment caused the first doorway to open, but it set off a chain reaction. They are gaining momentum along geodesics emanating from the facility. It's these pockets of exotic matter and negative energy that are letting those things in. What the hell does that mean, I ask. It means, Amy chimes in, that those doorways and monsters are starting to appear all over the facility. Maybe even the surface. Not yet, luckily, Strickland says. But the doorways will start appearing on the surface, and it won't stop there. The anomalies' reach could extend indefinitely as far as we know. Those entities will appear on the surface in other states, other countries. Holy shit, I say. You mean the world is going to be overrun? The horror of the past few hours has made me ready to believe anything, but this is almost too much. Unfortunately, yes, Strickland says. My God, Amy says, stepping away. Isn't there anything we can do? There is a last resort, Strickland says, her eyes darting over to Barksdale at the back of the room. There's an emergency failsafe switch. What? Amy says. I never heard of that. Where? You weren't cleared for it, Strickland replies. And that switch, Amy said, is a way to stop this? Yes, Strickland says, seeming uneasy with the conversation. So I can either ask what the switch does, which the answer is that it ends the problem, or why haven't you hit the switch already, which would probably explain what it does. So why haven't you hit it already? Well, there's two problems with hitting it, Strickland replies. The switch is our eraser. It destroys the entire facility and terminates any systems or experiments that are being conducted. It's also an emergency shutdown for interdimensional travel. It puts an event horizon around the facility. What the hell is that? I ask, incredulous. It's the perimeter of a black hole, she replies. The boundary inside which nothing can escape, not even light. So the first problem is we'd all be killed, sucked into a black hole before we'd have time to evacuate. The second reason, Strickland whispers, is that Barksdale won't allow it. What? Amy gasps. Why not? He wants to allow those things to flood the surface? Thousands, millions will die. Strickland puts her hand up, silencing Amy. They both peer over to the far side of the room where Barksdale has his back turned. I know. He says he doesn't care. He says he'll be happy to be rid of the oversight so he can continue his work. The oversight? Amy almost screams, regaining control of her voice when Strickland gives her another look of warning. You mean our government? I ask. He's aware this could disrupt, even topple our government, and he doesn't care? Strickland sighs. Barksdale is, well, he's off the range right now. He's gone rogue and he's armed. This comment makes me look towards the handgun I brought in with me. I'd nearly forgotten it in the last few moments. While Barksdale has his back turned, I take it in my hands and slide it behind me. Just in time, too, as Barksdale walks over from the back of the room to our side of the chamber. He gives Strickland a suspicious look before speaking to her. Is the civilian going to survive? He asks. Yes, he's stitched up and good to go, Strickland replies. That's great news, Barksdale says. I'm sitting right here, I say sarcastically. You can actually speak to me, you know. Amy, it's quite nice to see that you have survived, he says. Were there any others? The aloof way this asshole is talking to us is getting under my skin. A guy named Marcus that works on the first level from IT, Amy said. That's all I know for sure. Marcus Pabscott, Barksdale says. Where is he? Either I can admit that I killed him to the guy that is armed and psycho, or I can say he was killed by those things. So, he was killed by the things. I try not to let my eyes shift and give away my lie. Oh, Barksdale says, I see. Barksdale seems to think about something and then looks directly at me. You're with the logging crew, aren't you? Remind me, how did you get in here again? We were searching for our crew. I mean, both of those are right, but... makes sense. The cloaks for the entrance shed are tied to a primary source, Barksdale said, and we lost primary power just before the experiment failed. Cloak, I ask. Yes, Strickland says. The shed you entered is usually not visible to the naked eye. Depending on the power sources that were damaged, Barksdale continued, it could have also shut down the locking systems before backups kicked in. Everything is starting to make sense now. From the very start, it had seemed peculiar that we'd so easily been able to walk into a place like this. Where's the rest of our crew, or what caused the experiment to fail? I want to know where they are. Your crew, Barksdale asks. Frank and Joe, they're gone. Gone? Gone where? I ask, my voice trembling. Hearing him speak the names of my crew enrages me. They were annihilated by antimatter pockets created during the failure, a bright ball of light. In the aftermath, all you would see would be a round hole in the ground. Barksdale says this like he's sharing yesterday's sports scores. I let my face crumble into my hands. I had suspected this. All this time, and they were already dead. So what now, or what caused the experiment to fail? Your crew hit one of our main power lines. We aren't sure exactly how, but we know that's what did it. You're trying to blame all of this on me? I roar. The timing was unfortunate, Barksdale says. So, Amy asks, what do we do now? Now it's time to continue our work, Barksdale says calmly, turning away to the instruments on the near wall.